Greetings, friends. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Let's Get Gritty podcast with yours truly, Dr. India White. I'm thrilled to be here with you this evening. We will have a special guest with us today, so make sure you stay tuned in. Now, I'm going to get into the announcements so we can get into this gritty show. First things first, the Let's Get Gritty podcast with Dr. India White will be featured on Spotify and all of the social media outlets. Now, for the social media outlets, you can follow me on Facebook, Miss India White. LinkedIn is The India White. Twitter is Indy Speak and Teach. Instagram is Indy238. YouTube is India White 123. And TikTok is Dr. India White. I will invite you to also check out the website, www.india-white.com, for books, blogs, or to schedule me for your next speaking or coaching event. Speaking of events, I'm super excited to introduce to you guys that I am going to be keynoting the Getting Gritty for the New Year Women Empowerment Conference, which will be taking place December 19th, 2024 at 4 p.m. Mountain Time. Again, that conference will be taking place on December 19th at 4 p.m. Mountain Time. I also want to encourage you to check out the Grit Academy if you have any children or anyone that is needing tutoring services, SAT prep, college and career readiness, whatever. Send them my way so that we can help them. Okay, and we'll go from there. Also, make sure you're checking out the Grit Mini Workshop on the Grassroots Workshops website. There are so many websites or workshops on that website. I don't know if you've ever been. There are so many different things going on there. So if you're looking for the Grit one, you're going to have to probably search the word grit. The name of the course is How to Harness Grit to Help Students Thrive. So check that out whenever you get a chance. And with that said, I wanted to remind you guys, if you're going to attend the conference, I am launching the Grit calendars. So please make sure that you are doing your best to get your Grit calendar so that you'll be ready to talk about grit for this amazing event. Now, with that said, I'm super honored to bring onto this show someone of similar likeness, similar mindset that gets grit. And they are rocking the world in their space through grit, helping others to harness grit. And they have even authored a book titled Spiraling Upward as they talk about this. So with that said, I do want to bring onto the Let's Get Gritty podcast Wendy Wallbridge, who is going to join us and talk about grit. Welcome, Wendy. How are you?
I'm so good. I'm better now, even just hearing your introduction.
Well, listen, I'm so thrilled. I cannot wait to get to know you. We want to know, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I was thinking about grit just as you introduced the whole thing. And I'll start out by telling you my story that got me on the path of wanting to build my own resilience or needing to build my own resilience. I was, in my 20s, I was just type A personality trying I was with two medical doctors building this company, consulting company, found my purpose like really young. I knew I wanted to, fascinated by transformation, wanted to figure out how to tap human potential. And I was just going to do it no matter what. But it was also the late 70s and the early 80s. And we were also imbibing and staying up late at night and being crazy. And I don't know if it was that or what, but one morning I woke up and I literally couldn't move my body. I was like totally inflamed, and I knew something was really wrong. And my friend helped me get to this doctor who is a specialist. And luckily he diagnosed me within 24 hours with systemic lupus erythematosus, which is, as you probably know, an autoimmune disease that affects women, in fact, Black women more than white women, and not men as much. But anyway, I was in my 20s and I got this thing, and I was told I would have it for my whole life and I would need to be on this medication that kind of changed my personality. I couldn't sleep. It was rough. And I had it for 14 years. So I had an active lupus, which moved around in my body. I was in and out of the hospital, transfusions, all the 9 yards of things, because you're swollen, really, and you can't predict from day to day what you're able to do. But I say that because it's a dramatic example of what I learned to teach other people about how evolve out of that. So I was a very lucky person in that after 14 years, my kidneys failed. It sounds like not a lucky thing, and then I got a kidney transplant, and it was a miraculous kidney transplant. I literally was, on dialysis for a year and a half. And then one night I got a call in the middle of the night, and the nurse said, "How are you feeling?" And like, you're waiting for that call, and I said, "I'm feeling good. I'm in remission." She said, "Because we just found the 6 antigen perfect match kidney to you in Kentucky, and we're going to send it to San Francisco, and we need you to meet us there in the morning. So we're going to put it in you."
Wow.
And so I, got my friend to drive me with my pillow to the hospital, and they put it in me. And within a year, I had a new life. Lupus was gone, and I had a new life. So that was the beginning of my journey.
Wow. So like, it seems like you had a moment, because you're talking about it was so talk about a spiritual time in this, like when you were using grit.
Yeah, so that's the overarching story. But inside that story is that even though I was in and out of the hospital and I had lupus in the brain at one point, I had it in my pancreas, on and on, my joints. It was the pain that really was significant, was my own judgment of myself, that I could no longer be the type A personality. I quit the company I was with, the man that one of the doctors wanted to marry me. I left him. I just thought if I could just put it all in reverse, somehow I could fix it, which wasn't actually the solution. But I also got on the path, and I was starting much more seriously to be committed to looking inside at what was going on with me, that was appropriate in my life. Now, I don't believe in that people create these illnesses, but I feel like there's some kind of collaboration that we're doing with it in order for it to exist in us. And in my case, I started doing a lot of new thought, spiritual mind treatment, prayer, all that stuff. And it was instrumental in helping, I feel, getting that magical kidney. But I want to say what I learned about grit, which was, it really is the origin of my book, because of this journey. Because when you suffer from, mine is dramatic. Other people have examples of times that their lives went upside down, or even the pandemic was like a collective upside down. You really have a chance to. It's only through failures and difficulties that you develop any character, that you develop anything new, that you develop a positive strength that you didn't know that you had. And for me, I needed to master and understand the source of suffering in your mind. And my book is designed to address in 5 ways, 5 powers that we all have inside of us, to activate our own agency for taking control of the best you can of the nonsense that sometimes we hear in our heads that judge us, without any kind of interruptions. I would say that's kind of what it is. And if I could just give you a metaphor.
Go for it. Yeah.
If you think of a spiral, that's what the whole book is based on, as the purpose of life is to keep it open and flowing. Your life works when your mind is open and flowing, when your energy is open and flowing, when your feelings are open and flowing, with all of it. But to keep that pipeline open, you have to have some skillfulness to know how to transmit it, how to transmute it in the moment. So I call it like an emotional pinch, for instance. That's one thing. But in my TED talk, my TEDx talk, I talk about the vertical path, the horizontal path that we're all on, and the tick-tock thing that the horizontal path is. In other words, collecting all A's: approval, accolades, acquisitions. We're all focused on getting the house, getting the partner, getting the thing, getting it done. That's not all of it. Thank goodness there's a vertical path that interrupts that horizontal path, that are these incidents that I call awe and ow. They're either blissful, amazing, wow experiences, or ow experiences like mine was. But in those cases, they lift you out of the moment of the TikTok life into this higher level of seeing your life, and I call it your VIP, your values, your inner strengths, and your purpose. You look from that 20,000 foot view down and you say, wait a minute, what do I really want? And then you can insert that wisdom into the direction of your life, and then it becomes an upward spiral rather than either vertical or horizontal. Does that make sense?
That's pretty powerful. I'm trying to share with the audience the last one that you just said about the VIPs, values, inner strengths, and your purpose. And I had another podcast where I talked about tough grit. And one of the things I talked about regarding tough grit kind of reminds me of this: being able to get quiet enough to dismiss, like you said, the negative voices and the negative experiences that would try to rob from you good values, great parts of your inner strengths, and great parts of your purpose. Here in the new year, not even the new year yet, but, we're getting ready towards, the end of the year, the holidays. Not everybody is, happy-go-lucky Christmas cheer. And so they might have a hard time with getting quiet and being able to discover their purpose and their inner strengths and things like that. So I like how you spoke about, spiraling upward. I talk about grit and how you should have great resilience in time. How can people spiral upward through great resilience in time? What advice would you have for them?
Well, I like what you said about, I resonate with what you said about where people are at right now. I would say there is a discontent that is pervading America, and there's a lot of loneliness, and there's a lot of just difficulties and challenges. And the good news is that is how we grow. The spiral represents growth. That is why we are here on the planet. We're not here to get somewhere or to achieve anything. We're actually here so that we can grow into our potential. And the only way we grow is through these difficult things that you're talking about. That's how grit gets developed. So it's really to look at the neighbor that you don't like, the boss that's being hard on you, the friend that betrayed you, the partner that left you, all those things that feel horrible, and they are, in a way, they're hard, are the things that can develop you into the next level of who you should be and why you came here. And I just want to say, we are here at this time it could have been a lull in time, but it is a tipping point. It is a time when all of our gifts are needed. And when you say purpose, I want to say it's not some high level thing. People have to just look at what they're being given in front of them, and the challenge that they're being given. That in the moment is the purpose to bring love, kindness, open-heartedness, and to try to be compassionate to yourself first and to other people. That is enough.
Yeah. And I think, the only time I think grit is, so you kind of give me hope a little bit towards grit in some difficult areas. So I talked about tough grit, but then I say that there are grit blockers. And some of that is like oppression, hatred, prejudices, biases, racisms, which unfortunately is like a virus that has taken over in certain parts of the world. But when you're trying to spiral upward and there are blockers to the grit, how do you give people advice to still move forward and to still spiral upward?
Yeah, let's be real. That's a real thing. And in fact, the new edition of my book that came out this year has in it, in the back, a section devoted to getting men on board to understand what we need for partnership in terms of, the workplace, for instance. So, women are less likely to be listened to be believed. They're more likely to be asked for evidence, their credentials. They're more likely to be interrupted. They're more likely to have their tone policed. And it's worse for Black women. 60,
I know.
Yes, 66.
I know.
Yeah, I'd say you can speak from experience on that.
I might be able to say something on that, but
yeah,
I think the thing about it is whether it's through gendered things, biases and hatreds, or racial biases and hatreds, it is inevitable. Unfortunately, it's there, and sometimes it blocks people to where people give up and they're like, "I'm done." And I have told people that are experiencing these different types of things to one, stop putting yourself around that. But then it's tough for some because like maybe you need a job or maybe you need that. So you have to do it. You have to be around.
Yeah, but you can find organizations that have more women in senior management positions where there's a more humane culture. It's not easy, but it does exist.
Yeah. And so, I think that whatever the blockage, we still need to have techniques for working around the different things that would stop this beautiful journey of finding our values, our purpose, and our inner strength. You know what I mean?
Yeah. In the book, there's 5 co-creative powers. The 5 co-creative powers are: what energy are you bringing to the situation? What thoughts and mindset are you bringing to the situation? Can you see if you have a pernicious negative thought? There's a technique for unwinding it. What do you do? How do you have agency with your feelings instead of being hijacked by them or suppressing them to the point where they blow up? How do you work with them, become more emotionally intelligent? Then the 4th one is co-creative power of speech. How do you use your words to have boundaries when needed, to make powerful requests, to make clean declines, to be able to negotiate, to articulate your value, all the things that put you in authoring your life to other people and you branding yourself and you saying how it's going to be for you. Then the last one is the co-creative power of action. Obviously, that's going to take all those other ones and put them into life. But mostly when we take steps toward what we're scared to do that calls to us, we get dopamine rewards. And that is how because it's rewarding us, our bodies, because that's what we're supposed to do. It wouldn't have that reward system if there wasn't like an intelligence that tells us that when we lean into those harder places that we're scared to do, but that we feel like they're ours to do, those are the places that we grow and make a difference.
Wow. Dr. Duckworth is the queen of grit, and she talks about how grit is having the passion and perseverance to obtain a long-term goal. And so when you're talking about like these 5 co-creative powers and having grit and putting action to all of this, it just makes me think like what you're telling people is you have to take a step forward. Like, and I like how you said spiraling upward, because you could have said spiraling, or you could have said moving forward, horizontally. Why did you focus so much on upward versus just moving forward and making progress?
I love that you asked that. I could talk to you forever. I think the thing that came from is that there is an evolutionary impulse pushing on us to grow and to go to the next level. We can ride it, and we only ride it when we get into alignment with the truth for ourselves. That's what I mean about energy, mind, feeling, speech, and action. You get those things lined up with the truth for you, what's so for you, and then you kind of ride this thing. You start to elevate. You move up the spiral. In my book, there's 3 levels of the spiral. There's the default mode when we're doing Groundhog Day and we keep repeating the same situation and same experience, but different people. The second loop is people that actually engage in the 5 co-creative powers. And the top loop, it really corresponds to Maslow's triangle. In the last years of his life, he developed that transcendent at the top, which is really about giving back and being so joyful and so grateful most of the time that you're just giving your gifts. You're in the flow. That's the top loop of the spiral. But yeah, I mean, did I answer your question?
Well, the thing is, I want to actually tag another thought to this.
Yeah.
With the Maslow's triangle, because we deal with that all day in education.
Sure.
It seems like that self-actualization and transcendence, whatever, of Maslow's work. And I love his theories about how we are all just good, inherently good people. And it's so true. When we were in Hurricane Milton, our neighbors, all of us came together. It didn't matter your background, your race, your gender. Everybody watched out for each other, and we made sure we did the best we could for each other. And it just goes to show that no matter who we are great people, but we have to learn to tap into it. This is where I think people get stuck. So I think they don't spiral upward, but they get stuck because they're so worried about scarcity, and they're worried about taking care of themselves over others. And you talked about climbing up that triangle, up at the top pillar. But the thing about it is, it's almost this like thought or opinion that the top of the triangle is only reserved for maybe your later years in life. I want to say you can transcend up and down that triangle from all those different steps. Like, the lower ones, you have your needs, right?
Yeah.
Those are pretty much going to be set. But you can still climb up these others and still hit that transcendence and that self-actualization and all those parts of the triangle as they're trying to pay it forward. But there also has to be a balance. So how do people find a balance as they're paying it forward and spiraling upward?
Let me address that. That's really great. Here's the thing. Women in our culture are socialized to be givers. And that is fine, except for that if you're giving to the point of resentment in any way, that's the red flag that you went too far. So notice in your life where you feel resentment, where you're complaining to somebody about something, and know that what you had a choice, you gave too much, because our culture pushes that on us, that women should be givers. The first place you need to be giving is yourself. Because if you're not full, this is an old thing with the oxygen mask, you've got to put it on yourself first. But honestly, it's about taking care of yourself so that then when your needs are met, the thing about the Maslow's triangle is you don't graduate to the next level in that triangle until you meet those needs. You don't go back down, up and down. Once you meet your need for belonging, then you just don't have anything else to do but that. It's like, but what you're saying is that reserved for exclusively reserved for people? I mean, we're in there's a unfortunate thing about society is that there's a haves and the have-nots, and the haves seem to already have their bottom level needs met, where the have-nots maybe have to stay there because they're still working on it. But to be a fulfilled human being, you still have to find ways to feel like you're making a contribution in some way, whether it's to one little kid next in your neighborhood, or an old lady across the street that you need to help, or groceries. I don't care. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be big. We all can look around and say, who can we help? And not be stuck in the thing. And here's what I want to say about that, the Milton thing. It's really interesting. This follows to the spiral, that only in these catastrophes are we seeing humanity come together and go party lines. What I think it's too bad that we have to, like when 9/11 happened, you notice that we came together as a country and we were all really helping each other. Like, how can we help? Now, let's hope that we don't need an ow to get to the next level. We can use an awe. Like Dr. Keltner wrote the book on awe, AWE. How do we find these moments in time that do lift us up, that we can, and how do we be generous with other people, even if we feel like we don't have enough? Because then we feel full inside ourselves. So, I mean, I know you know this. I'm saying this to anybody who's listening that.
Yeah. I mean, I like what you're saying. And it just, when you said, I hope we don't need an ow, that's huge, and going into 2025, we really have to, make sure that we're also doing our part to not contribute to the ow in the lives of others. And I think that's another thing of this whole feeling. There's so many parts to this. You talked about feeling like you belong. And I want to talk from, a diverse lens, right? I might not always feel like I belong, right?
Right.
Doesn't mean that I don't feel like I'm competent or that I'm respected. But when you're trying to have a sense of belonging, society does not always make that easy for certain groups of
Right.
people than it
Completely.
does others. So some of those people are constantly carrying around owls
Yes.
because of how they are treated.
Absolutely.
And so it's almost like they make steps forward on that spiraling upward towards that actualization, and then somebody knocks them out because of their own mental illness of hatred or their own,
Microaggressions that occur every day in workplaces, the microaggressions that where a person of color is asked, oh, you speak really well for your whatever, or can I touch your hair, or can I, some of these things that are ridiculous, but people are just unconscious.
That's every day, but that's not even at work. That's every day. I can go to the gas station and go get a coffee, and somebody's going to ask me, I remember I had a man ask me, you had to be in the military. You talk too well. I know you were in the military. And I was like, no, not quite. I mean, I know I have a doctorate, but I wasn't in the military, so it happened.
They're unconscious. They don't realize. And, we have to be kind about that too, because there's a lot of waking up going on right now. And let me tell you, I don't want to understate how much people of color carry in terms of microaggressions every day, and what the weight of that must be. I don't experience it, but I've heard all about it, and it's shocking, and it's sad, and it's not fair.
We are some of the strongest people on the earth.
Yes, ma'am. You are. Yeah, it was
why. Yeah, we're thankful, and I think
talk about resilience. Talk about grit. I mean, you're the teacher of that. You're the guru of that. I'm doing the best I can in my part when I work with people on bias inside corporations. So I work inside of a global tech company, one of the largest in the world, with my team of 10 people. And that we work separately with the men and separately with the women, because they need two entirely different things. But the things we teach them about the lens of bias can apply to both racial conversation as well as gender. And it's amazing the amount of vulnerability that people share about the wounds that they have as a result of it, or the mistakes that they've made that they feel bad about, and how to get out of the shame and get into action.
I think, and it's wonderful that you're doing this work. I think the reason why biases, microaggressions are so strong in the work culture in particular, and in, just different pockets of society, different, whatever. I think it's because there's like this toleration of like, it's a norm.
Yeah.
It's become a norm. Exactly. And until somebody in leadership is able to say, I don't care what the company is, and unless somebody in that leadership seat can say, I'm done with this. Yeah. I know. And you know what it reminds me of?
What?
Hidden Figures. The movie Hidden Figures. When they
right. Oh my God.
Trying to get them on the moon or to space, and the women of diverse backgrounds, the African American women, had to keep going to the bathroom all the way like over there.
I know, my God.
Right. But the thing is this, the guy says, okay, I'm done with this. He rips down the stupid signs, which I think was a hot mess that our nation even went through that. I'm glad I wasn't born in that era. I don't know how those that were dealt with that. God bless all of them. But so they ripped down those stupid signs, colors, whites, all that stupid stuff. Yep. And then they're able to get the job done. Like,
exactly. For your audience, I just want to say what a microaggression is, because some people might not know.
Oh, yes. Go for it.
It's having your judgment questioned more often. It's having your emotional state derided or questioned. It's being interrupted or spoken over more than others. It's hearing insults about your culture or people like me. It's feeling like I'm expected to speak on behalf of all people with my identity. It's having men comment on my hair and appearance. It's being told to calm down or that I'm prettier when I smile. Those are just a few.
Yeah.
For women of color, it's having people express surprise at my language skills. It's being confused with someone else of the same race or ethnicity. It's being told that that they don't see gender or race, that they are colorblind or just treat everyone
color. Right.
So all of that is microaggressions, everybody. Hello.
Yeah. And so I want to commend you though, Wendy, for the work that you're doing in these organizations, as you're helping them to eliminate those, microaggressions and biases and really see people beyond the things they've been told, the things they've been taught, the things that the loved ones of theirs, have told them.
Yeah.
And,
people really want, like you said at the very beginning, people are good. People want to be good. The patriarchy has socialized people into these biases.
Silos. Yeah.
And it's a problem, but also you have to deal, when I make fun about the microaggressions, we are very in a non-blamey program, what we do, because it doesn't work to blame people. I've made many mistakes myself and been called out for mistakes that I've made in not being properly gendering, the right pronouns with people or, something else. And I just have to know that we're all in this together. We're learning together. It's changing, we're evolving. There's more equality coming. There's more equity coming, but we're going to make some mistakes on the way.
Yeah, but I love that. And I love that you are championing this, because I think it takes people like you that are of, European descent, that are in a more, when it comes down to microaggressions and things, you have not really had, maybe, I don't know your experience, but maybe you not had it as heavily as others,
no, not.
Of darker pigmentation. So the thing is this, I love how you have said, I recognize that in my life, I might not have had as many, but I'm going to now take my position and do something to correct the wrong that I've seen, that I've heard, and the systems that are wrongfully still keeping those things as norms. So that, because we need more people like you, we need more people of European descent speaking on this.
Yeah. I mean,
we need more so we can continue to spiral up as a nation.
That's right. I mean, we need everybody. Right now, we need everybody. This is a time of great change and great opportunity. So, it's a perfect time to do your creative thing, whatever it is, wherever you can have a voice, wherever you can make positive change. Because the thing that I wonder about is that, like, when you just said that, just my thought about, you were saying you're like inviting everybody to get on board to help us to evolve the situation with compassion for the fact that we're going to mess up on the way.
Right.
I think what I was thinking about, so many thoughts at once, is why I had a little collision in my brain. But I was thinking about, like, I did some ancestry work to look at my gene, where I've been, my family, or people that brought me to this earth, what part they played in the genocide, or the slavery or all that stuff. And the mistake people make is to start to feel bad about it. I don't think that helps anybody. It's not that we shouldn't, but
I'm happy you're talking about this, and I'm happy we are of different ethnicities talking about this. I've done DNA work too. I've had Benin and Togo. I've got Nigeria. Shout out to Nigerians. I've got Irish. Shout out to my Irish people.
Me too.
I'm from Wales.
Me too.
I have Mexican. I have like everything in me. So,
wow.
And my last name is White, so it's beautiful how it all meshes together.
You got it all, girl.
So listen, but no, I'm happy we're talking about this, because this has been a hot topic of the elephant in the room. Mm-hmm. Are you supposed to feel bad about it when you think about the ancestries and you think about slavery, and maybe you had, your people had slaves, and benefited from that, whether it was economically or whatever? How are they supposed to feel if they don't feel bad? How do you properly process that? I think
feel like
people are
I think we have to look for places that we can make reparation. I think
Wow.
I do think we have to look for places we have to make.
But what does that look like?
It might be different for everybody. I think, there's no prescribed way. I mean, there should be a prescribed way. There should be a payback in some way for all of the wrongs that were done, both to American Indians and as well, Native American. But if there's not, we can do what we can individually to feel like we've helped in some way, whatever that is.
I think that's interesting. So you might not be able to personally pay reparations to the world, but you can do your part. And falling out of, like, I think too, some people, maybe they love the whole like colorism thing. Like maybe they benefited from it. And they've benefited from certain extreme viewpoints. And maybe a part of reparations can be that they can somehow find a peace within themselves to fall out of love with some of those extremist viewpoints that would try to divide and,
othering,
rank, like put like a caste system in the, in the United States.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
That book is amazing, Caste.
Yeah. So, it's one of those things, like we're a people, we're a human race.
Yeah.
This should not be seen as a caste system of, depending on what you look like, you go in these particular parts. But and that's the thing I love about America, when America is done right, is it eliminates that. It eliminates the field, eliminates that economically, it eliminates that academically.
That's the hope. That's the wish. That's the ideal. Let me just say that Bono said that we have not earned our America yet. We have not earned the concept of America yet. He hasn't said, it wasn't those exact words, but if you look up his talk, it was brilliant. But he was saying we have a long way to go before we can really own what America stands for. There's a lot of othering going on in this country where we have polarization in the parties, and we have this and that about who's the best, whatever. I feel like that is that we have to pop up to the next level of the spiral where we see each other as humans. And let's hope, like we said, it's not because we have a calamity that makes us do that. I also want to say one other thing about bringing us together. I feel like the place where the women are, they have, when women are put into positions of leadership, they make decisions that bring more equity for everybody.
Well,
not everybody, not all of them.
Not every woman.
Not every woman. You're right. But a lot, it's been shown though, like even in underserved countries, that when the women are funded, they give back to their community versus going to the bar where the men.
It depends on if they don't have biases, and if they're not operating as if they're in a caste system. If they feel like this race is better than that race, this gender is better than that gender, they will actually do more damage than a man.
We don't want to elevate women that are just imitating the masculine.
I want to say too, like, I respect where you're coming from, but I've had personal experience.
I can tell.
I got to stop you on that one.
I can tell.
Some of the wonderfulest people in my life have been white men that have elevated me, believed in me, given me promotions, have given me an opportunity in the academia, and also white women have done it, and also Black, and so it's been just people, I think, when you spoke about women, I have to say,
I'm probably thinking of specifically progressives that are already
that don't harness biases and microaggressions in them.
Exactly.
Because they are the worst.
I agree with you. And there's a lot of them. You're right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm meaning is what I was trying to get to is if you're listening to this right now and you feel lonely or lost or up against something that's really hard for you, I would say find your little tribe, find a community of usually a circle of women that you can relate to that have equality on the mind. those, find a tribe that you can be in, because that is what is going to take us to the next level in our culture. Also, is these circles of women that, and it doesn't have to be just women. It could be the circle. It could be a community in church, where you feel like you really relate to the people that are there, the spiritual community. But that is important. That is really important. Should I tell the story about Wangari Maathai?
Go for it. Yeah.
So this is it's like an old story, but I love it as a metaphor of what I'm talking about in terms of the salve or the healing that we need and how to find it. And what it was that way back in, where was this? Okay. So 3 decades ago, Wangari Maathai suggested to rural women in Kenya that they plant trees. And they did it for firewood and also to stop the soil erosion. The ground was getting very dry and they couldn't plant what they wanted to. And they were not being able to farm. And she started it in the 70s. And since then, let me tell you, before I tell you the end, let me just tell you the story. So women were walking a really long distance to get water, and they were carrying it on their heads, and they were just racing because it was so hot from one place to the other to get the water, fill it, and come back to where they needed to share it. And the question was, why are they, walking these long distances both for firewood and clean water? And the soil was disappearing, and the children were suffering from malnutrition. And she thought, why not plant trees? And so they started planting trees. And a funny thing happened. Because women had the trees to shade them, they also had conversations. They started to talk to each other. And in those conversations, they came up with all these solutions. Today, more than 51 million trees have been planted, and more than 30,000 women have been trained in forestry, food processing, beekeeping, and other trades that help them earn income. I'm getting chills when I say this because it's so cool. Help them earn income while preserving their land and resources. So Wangari Maathai is a legend in Kenya's Greenbelt movement. And I just recommend people look that up, because the point is that we're hardwired for relationships and community. We're really hardwired to come together and share what's on our mind and hearts. And when we do that, we process better. We open up. Our spiral goes up. We need each other, at this time.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And thank you so much for sharing out. So with that said, do you have any last nuggets of wisdom that you have for the audience today as we wrap up the Let's Get Gritty podcast?
Oh, gee, I could go on with you forever. I think I've said a lot already. Just remember that I would just say, just remember that whatever's happening to you, there's nothing wrong. There's really nothing wrong. It's actually supposed to be happening, and it's asking something of you. Oh. It's an invitation to listen to what you think is being called forth in you. And what that is needed both by you and by the people around you and the planet. So, yeah.
Thank you so much for that. And I hope you guys really heard that. I think that's probably one of the powerfulest things that we've discussed on here, because there's been a lot of blaming, a lot of fault finding, a lot of coming up short. And like you said, it's just.
Can I add one thing to that?
Yeah, go for it.
When I was like late 50s, my sister died, and I ended up becoming the mother of her 10-year-old son, because he needed a mom, and I thought, I can do it. I'd never had a child, and I didn't plan on being a mother. Nor was I prepared for it, but no one is. And I brought this kid up, and I was just thinking about how, a lot of times during the raising of him, I would think, oh, this is wrong. Something's wrong. Things would go wrong, and he was not easy. But I went one time, I took him on a trip to Ecuador, and we went and stayed with these Sapara tribe with this amazing experience in the jungle. And the shaman said to me, there is nothing wrong. He just kept saying it to me. There is nothing wrong. And it got through to me finally, that whatever we're facing, it's It's there because it wants to develop us to the next level. And we're there to grow. Yeah.
This is powerful. I'm so happy you said that, because so many people are feeling like, something is wrong. So we've got to take that in. There is nothing wrong, guys. There's nothing wrong. You're good enough. You're not inadequate. You have enough. Stop thinking something is wrong, or that you did something wrong, or that you showed up wrong. There's nothing wrong.
That's right.
So thank you so much, Wendy. Now, how can the audience, how can we keep in touch with you?
Spiralup.com is my website, but I am starting to post on Instagram. My handle is SpiralUpPath, and I honestly put a few videos on TikTok recently. I'm just beginning to put stuff there, but tell me if you like that. I got a lot of feedback. That place is a lot of eyeballs there.
Yeah.
So I occasionally I do a Spiral Up coaching circle for women that want to transform and reinvent themselves. If you're interested in that, I'm Wendy@spiralup.com. My email, Wendy@spiralup.com. I don't have one planned right at the moment, but anyway, would love to have everybody read my book and spiral up.
Wonderful. Well, thank you again, Wendy, for joining us. This has been very warm and candid and a needed conversation in our nation today. We always walk around the elephants in the room, but I'm happy we were able to, get on top of those elephants and smash them down.
As they say, one bite at a time.
Yeah. So thank you so much again. Now, guys, thanks so much for joining me on the Let's Get Gritty podcast. Dr. G.R.I.T, featuring our special guest, TEDx speaker and author, Wendy Wallbridge. Please go check out her TEDx when you get a chance. Just look up her name, Wendy Wallbridge and TEDx Talk, and you'll find it there. Please make sure you're also reaching out to her. She did leave her information. And if her email is Wendy@spiralup, or website. No, her email is Wendy@spiralup.com. So please make sure you're giving her a chance. Also, I'm hoping to see you guys at the Getting Gritty for the New Year Women Empowerment Conference, December 19th at 4 p.m. Mountain Time. You can check it out. You can contact me. You can visit my website if you need more information about that conference. And of course, my website, www.india-white.com. I don't want to leave you guys because we've had such a great podcast. I just want to end it here. So thanks again so much for joining the Let's Get Gritty podcast with Dr. G.R.I.T. And until next time, stay gritty. See ya.
Thank you.